Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2013. Well, you remember SARS from a few years ago, that disease that spread through Asia, mainly in Hong Kong, that killed over 1,000 people. Well, earlier this week, a SARS-like virus became apparent in Saudi Arabia, of all places. It's infected 15 people so far, 9 of whom have died. The most recent death was just about 10 days ago. Western health officials are questioning whether the Saudi Arabian kingdom is sharing enough critical health data related to the outbreak. The Saudis are vehemently rejecting those complaints and say that the virus posed a low risk of a pandemic. The disease emerged a decade ago in Asia. It was capable of being spread from person to person. Of the deaths confirmed in humans since April, 6 have now occurred in Saudi Arabia, including 3 since February. The World Health Organization has issued a global alert. Cyprus is still the issue economically in the world. It's now in talks with Moscow on raising billions of euros in investments from Russia as an alternative to imposing that deposit tax on Cypriot bank deposits. This is all to lift the barrier to an EU bailout. The Cypriot finance minister is now in Moscow for the second day of talks. He said the banks are the ultimate objective in any support we get from the Russians. There are no stumbling issues. There is just work to be done. There are 2 things to consider. First of all, Cyprus is apparently sitting on top of significant oil and gas deposits in which the Russians could invest in, and that could be used as a vehicle to raise up to about $7.5 billion in capital, which would be enough for the Cypriots to get the EU bailout. And the second thing is that the money that's in the Cypriot banks is mostly Russian money, so the Russians have quite an incentive to get this done. Meanwhile, over Berlin, in the midst of a snowstorm, 3 federal police helicopters were engaged in a training exercise to deal with football violence. Well, 2 of them crashed into each other. One of the pilots is dead. They both fell from the sky. They clipped each other. Federal authorities are apparently examining Microsoft's involvement with companies and individuals that are accused of paying bribes to overseas government officials in exchange for business. The countries involved are China, Italy, and Romania. Apparently, Microsoft is joining a list of about 100 other companies that are currently under investigation by the government. In this case, it's the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Justice Department. These companies are being investigated now relating to violations of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. But the Microsoft claims in China, they were first shared with American officials last year by an unnamed whistleblower who had worked with the company in China. The whistleblower said that a Microsoft official in China directed the whistleblower himself to pay bribes to Chinese officials to win business deals. That does not particularly sound unlikely, although I would presume Microsoft would not have done such a thing, but bribes in China are apparently standard practice. Well, here's an interesting story. One of the biggest players in the global financial scene, of course, is Christine Lagarde, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund. On Wednesday, French police searched her apartment looking for evidence in connection with an investigation into her handling of a financial scandal when she was the finance minister under then-President Nicolas Sarkozy. The investigation concerns Lagarde's decision in 2007 to refer to an arbitration panel a dispute between a French billionaire who was also a supporter of Sarkozy and the state-owned bank Credit Lyonnais. The panel ultimately brokered a settlement that awarded the billionaire about $580 million. Ms. Lagarde has said that she had nothing to do with this. South Korea's initial investigation into the virus attack that struck its country earlier in the week is showing that a Chinese internet address was the source of the cyber attack. South Korea's telecom regulator said that the Chinese address created a malicious code in the server of one of the banks that crashed in Seoul on Wednesday. Experts do caution that hackers often launch attacks via computers in other countries in an attempt to keep their identities from being exposed. Regulators have now distributed so-called vaccine software to government offices, banks, hospitals, and other institutions to prevent more outages. Well, one of the biggest insurance companies in the world, if not the biggest one, is Allianz in Germany. Their CEO, Michael Deichmann, pocketed the biggest increase amongst Germany's top executives last year. He received a 25% increase than in 2011. His salary went up to about $8.5 million. Dykman still only ranks 6th among German executive CEOs in the blue chip DAX 30 index. And the Channel Tunnel fire in 2008 that caused one of the tubes to be shut down for about 6 months. We seem to have a final settlement with that. Eurotunnel, which is the operator of the tunnel, announced that it had reached a settlement with its insurers over the final element of what turned out to be a 253 million euro claim. The last piece was a 30 million euro outstanding payment. The majority of the claim covered operating losses that the tunnel incurred because of the fire. Repairs were about another 57 million euros. Replacement of railroad rolling stock accounted for about 36 million, and other supplementary costs were about 8 million. XL Insurance led the primary layer, while SCOR and other French carriers figured prominently on the reinsurance slip. That is the news for today. President Obama remains in Israel. There were 2 rocket attacks in the country, killing 1 person, I believe. None of them struck anywhere near the president. He's meeting today with the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. We'll see you tomorrow. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching.